bit of health check here and maybe understanding of how we will interact through this session. As you can see, all of you have already typed. If you want to send a message to the panelist, myself, or everybody else, you can use the chat option. And in the chat option, there are two. You can either address to the panelist or all panelists and attendees. I suggest you use all panelists and attendees so that your message is visible to everyone. And in case you want to share anything only the panelist, you can choose panelist. I have colleagues assisting and Ashish who are they will try and help if you have any problem through the session. So that's one on the chat. And as we go through this session, if you have any questions, right, and do not wait for any Q&A session towards the end, keep typing your questions in the Q&A option, which is just next to participants and polling. You could use the Q&A option for logging in your question. That will really help us so that contextually you are aware and we get the right questions right then and there. Perfect. Any questions at this point of time? Else we can get started. Super. And first of all, congratulations for everyone here making it to this session. And while so many webinars are happening, and it's very important that we make up and we'll try to make sure that you get maximum value for this session. We are all sitting in so-called, we can call it worst of times from a demand perspective, but how do we turn this into an opportunity and convert this into a best of times? And it is these times that gives us lots of opportunity to create a new path in the fork, the way we are running. And we will see some of that today. Just want to set the expectation for today. If all this session did was get you a strategic framework to construct your online business, would it be worth it? Get you what it takes to build, develop, and scale your online business, would that be worth it? Get you out of the fear of this new space and confidence to move forward to take actions in this area. If you agree with this, can you type S? If you don't, say no. Let me move on. Thanks for your feedback. What comes in way? Most of the time, whenever there is a disturbance like this, whenever there is a black swan event like this, let the current circumstances not dictate the future. I would like to share my own story. When 8 years back, I moved from heading the fashion business in their Bharti Walmart joint venture in India to Myntra. At that time, Myntra was a very small company with close to $10 to $20 million run rate, and with an office space of around 2,500 square feet in a small building in HSR layout in Bangalore. Everyone told me that, Ganesh, you might be making a blunder of your life, moving from world's #1 company to join a very small company. That is fine. A startup, that's fine. But the company is trying to sell fashion online. And fashion is something that you need to touch and feel. And online, who's going to buy fashion? So we don't see that this model is going to work. Not people, outside the industry, people who are very close to me, who are well-wishers. But the point there was, today everything is history. And I did a bit of groundwork before making that move to look at all the upcoming trends. What's happening to the internet, number of internet users, what's happening to the smartphone users. All of them were showing a trend which is moving on a different trajectory. And we also looked at, I also looked at what's happening in China, what's happening in US, and typically what it takes for India to follow in these trends. Looking at that was the bet. For my point and takeaway for this is, today we are in a situation where we are forced to look at digital transformation. So I like this quote, right? Skate to where the puck is going to be, nor where it is today. So sitting here, I think we really need to think, what would future look like? Because many a times what the future look like may not be comfortable for us. And at that time, digital was not comfortable for many. And what kind of actions that can we take today and learn from everything else happening around? Our future is a function of our thoughts, our decisions, and action we take today for the future. So it's nothing to do with what's happening in the environment. What I'm trying to say is it's all up to you to decide the course of action in the future. We can keep on giving reasons of what's happening around. With that introduction, whatever we are going to see and share today, what I'm going to share today is not theory. It is not nice to know information. These are all backed up by proven case studies, proven experiences of we impacting number one, building India's largest online retail business from almost ground zero to close to $1 billion plus company. And the company continues to thrive. And it has set up an ecosystem today on which various other players are thriving. And of course, thanks to all the ecosystem partners. So just to substantiate that, let me just show you one single case study of one of our customers, and Gautam Kotamraju going to hear has been a leader across various types of companies, worked in a brand house, one of the largest brand house in the country, which is Arvind Brands, handled brands like US Polo, Flying Machine, moved on to handle a large portfolio in Myntra, then moved on to Amazon, headed their private brand business, then moved on to head the entire cult gear business, developing a sports and activewear business. Let's just listen to what he has to say on why he loved Stylumia.
I think the belief stems from the fact, from what Stylumia delivered. It was not so much belief in just Stylumia as a brand, as as people, but also what it helped us achieve. Stylumia helped us improve our our sell-throughs, so much so that I think 2.5 times our inventory terms, number of inventory turns were I think doubled. The search time from mind to market was halved, and not only halved, our speed to market therefore was increased. But not only it was halved, it was also the validated, in the truest form.
Yeah, with that bit of
I think
case study behind, before we get into hows of doing things, a lot of times we get into tell me how do I set up my website, tell me how do I do social media marketing, how do I do digital marketing, what is performance marketing. I'm completely new to this, but I would like to start with the big picture before we get into details, because it is not about details that matter. If you get the big picture right, a lot of attention to details, the transactions, the hows of things automatically fall in place. What do I mean by that? Well, let's just look at some of the case studies. Why do you think this company went bankrupt? Now, I would like each one of you to start typing why do you think this company went bankrupt? Quickly, let's take 30 seconds. Lack of innovation. Yeah, go ahead. Keep going. Outdated business model. Thanks, Abhay. Thanks, Salman. And thanks, Kavya. Not being fast enough. They're not relevant to customer needs. Right? Didn't modernize. Awesome. Now let's look at the next case. Why do you think Gold's Gym has been a pinnacle of fitness, right? And they filed for bankruptcy recently. What do you think? Why Gold's Gym is going bankrupt? Why do you think Airbnb, which is considered an online business, isn't Airbnb an online business? Why should Airbnb, what they took 12 years to build, they lost almost everything in 6 weeks? This is from their CEO. Got it. The points of view coming, very interesting. Changing consumer behavior. They thought one can defeat their business, overconfidence, right? Okay. Let's look at the reasoning, right? And some of you would have thought that because these companies never went online, right? They never considered online seriously. And I'm sure a lot of what you're saying is true. They did not have case studies, and COVID has actually accelerated the problems of the future. It's not that COVID is the reason, right? Now, if you just observe very, very closely, all of these companies had one thing in common. They all had online sales processes, including the one who did not focus enough. But they also had an offline delivery mechanism. I really want you to pay attention to this, where online sales process, just having a website means that you're not online. You might have an online sales booking process, and you may still have delivery can happen through offline. Look at Airbnb. While they were completely online, they had to sell a property which is offline. For the experience is completely offline, 100%. When that got impacted, the entire company got impacted. And the question here is to ask, saying that how can we not fall into these traps, right? And while you're building your digital business, is it possible for you to have an online sales process, an online delivery mechanism? Well, let's look at other case studies. One more case study here. Yeah. And before we answer any questions, I strongly believe that we are living in a world where, what our questions create, in the sense that what questions that should we ask right now before, while we want to amplify the digital business, I'd like to ask each one of you, why digital? Let's get to the fundamental of why do we need to be in digital. But I think we need to answer some few questions. Be where your customers are. For the answer to this question comes from where my customers are, where my consumers are. If your consumers are hanging around online, if your consumers are engaged online, and if your consumers are willing to shop online, then you need to be online. So it is not about saying that digital is a now buzzword, let me go, let me set up my website and all of that. But the question here is, really the consumers are going online, and hence you need to be digital. And maybe there is a category that some of you are, and some of you may have a category where they don't shop online at all. Therefore, then such businesses don't need to necessarily be online. What I'm trying to say is that not anybody and everybody needs to go online. Therefore, it is fundamentally you need to answer this question. While there is a lot being talked about, lots of transformation happening, I really like Jeff Bezos. Once somebody asked him, saying that, tell me what will happen, what will change in the next 10 years? And he said, instead of answering that question, can I tell you what will not change for next 10 years? Now, many a times that's fundamentally very, very important. So these are the three questions which you need to answer before venturing into any channel, right? Now, whether online is a channel, whether online is a business by itself, we will look at that very soon. So these are three questions you need to ask. Who is your niche? Now, as you're listening to this question, I really want you to answer this for your business. Who is your niche means that, are you catering to, for example, fitness seeking mom, 35 to 40 years, right? And you want to satisfy her comfort clothing needs. Now, you really need to be super sharp, and specificity will pay here. It's not about creating a niche which is unclear. So who is very, very important before we get into how we are going to distribute, which is a digital channel, right? So we need to get this strategic angle very clear. Second is, what are you solving? What problem are you solving? For this who is going to be super important. Once you've done that, then we get into how are you going to fulfill this need of the who, what, and how. I really want you to think and ask this question for yourself. How much of time are we spending on the how? And this is our observation. Most of the time, we are obsessed with the how. How do I do this? But I've already pre-decided the who, I've already decided the what, but who and what are super critical before we get into how. So before you start, many of you have already established businesses, but this is something, a question that we can ask all the time. What is my big idea? if you're starting for the first time, if you're a startup, you don't have a business already, and this is a good question to ask. What is the big idea? You need to have a big idea which will take care of the who, what, and the how. And then you get into it. Now, what is a big idea? A big idea has three characteristics. One, a big idea has to have a profitable market. Second, the big idea must have hungry buyers. Third, the big idea also can align with what's trending. Now in fashion, the lot of time we go with what's trending, but it's very, very important for us to ask those questions. Is it a profitable market that I'm making something which is trending? Is it a market that I'm making something is trending, but there are hungry buyers? So just to give an example, right? In the last few months, there has been a significant shift. We don't know whether it will be permanent or not, but because it is significant, it comes to our notice, but there are lots of micro changes which constantly happen. Now look at shorts. Now shorts are skyrocketing, growing by 3 to 5x, and this 3 to 5x is happening with shortage of supply. If any one of you out there, right, and spotted this opportunity few months back, and you could build actually a shorts brand and caught the attention of millions of consumers. Now, what's trending was clear. Hungry buyers was clear. Was it a profitable market? Absolutely. In fact, shorts was selling at full price online. Now, the question is that, a lot of people ask me and ask us, is that online always discount mein chalta hai? The question is that, can we make money online selling at full price? Or can we do a profitable online business? The answer to that is absolutely yes. But the question is, how do you approach that? And some of that, definitely, we are going to cover that today. How do you build a business? Now, before you building the business, let's get the fundamentals right. It's not about saying that I have a factory, I already make some good products, and I want to go online. No, that's definitely one way of doing it. But the question is to analyze all of this before we venture, then the probability that we'll make less mistakes is very high. And all of what you're doing need to intersect with your strengths. Like you said, what are your strengths and what's your passion? Let me move on. Now the question is, therefore, what's your big idea at this point of time? 1 second. Yeah. Now we talked about big idea, and we talked about our customers. We talked about who. We also talked about what we will serve them. Now the question to ask right now is that how do we acquire them, right? And typically, this is a point that I would like to explain, and I committed that I'll just tell you what's the difference between the offline and online retail. In offline retail, there is a lot of relationships which are built. Oh, there is a one-on-one relationship. Let's start from the retail store, right? Customers are known, and the retailer is known, the employee is known, sales associate is known. It runs with a lot of relationship. I'm not ignoring that your product proposition is connecting with the consumer, but when it comes to digital medium, you actually don't know anybody on the other side. Who is buying? You have no idea. How are you going to sell? How are you going to acquire customers and engage them and retain them when you can't even meet them face to face? Oh, that's a fundamental difference in online and offline. But what that means is, how can I understand this person without meeting? Which means the only way that you can do that is through data. Now we will get into that. Now, while I'm saying that, let's look at how do you reach this customer. One is, there are two ways of building business. I'm saying multiple ways of building business. I'm taking two extremes. You just sell product at a great price at the bottom end of it, or you build emotion, and which is on the top end of it. Today you see all perfumes are sold not based on their product cost at all. It's full of emotion, right? For what you will see is creating emotion. It's very advertisement led, very emotion led. For you have very high marketing and high margin, right? Now if you're just selling product at a price, your margin is going to be low. Now this is one path that one needs to take. Where what path that I want to take? Do I want to go with a balance of both? They want to play a product, price, and business game, right? Then you're moving towards commodity, right? I'm not saying product game is not great. Now product itself, actually Zara by itself is playing a product game, but the way it is done is completely differentiated. So one needs to find a correct niche between the product and emotion side. Now, the question that you will ask is now, how do I acquire customers in the digital medium? Right now, of course, I don't know anybody. I have to acquire customers, and you can acquire customers across any of these channels. Now, I just want to dwell some time on, right, why you would choose any of these channels. Let's look at Facebook. Facebook is a place almost everybody is there, right? Even there, the youthful audience is actually coming down, and still 60% of Facebook is having people between 20 to 28 years. Come to Instagram, it's a short form, it's used for inspiration, and most of Instagram audience is between 18 to 24. So if you really want to go for mass, you choose Facebook. If you want to create inspiration and the target audience is 18 to 24, you can go for it. That doesn't mean that for mass you don't go here, but you go here, inspire them so that you cut across their various platforms. Now, there are two other mediums, which is YouTube and Google search. Now, in YouTube, all of us think it's a video platform. The question I really want you to think, YouTube is actually a search engine. It's not a video platform. Now, it's so powerful. We are going to talk about it today, how you can create an unfair advantage using YouTube. The last one is Google. Now, Google is also a search engine. For whenever there is a search engine, the consumer doesn't come unless there is an intent. So they always start with a search. Even in YouTube, we all go to YouTube first search, right? Same as Google. So how do you deal with these platforms? Again, YouTube used for long form storytelling and or for education. And in search engine, of course, you need to be visible in the internet, and search engine can be a conduit for you to land up anywhere. Google, the search engines can take you to a Facebook, they can take you to Instagram, it can take you to YouTube, or it's sitting on the top of the funnel. So how do you choose all of this? The story determines the media. So you need to understand the context of the platform. Now, some of you there might be thinking, saying that digital marketing is, it's a very different skill. It needs to be mastered, etc. I do agree. But having said that, if you practice it, it is so simple. I personally do a lot of digital marketing, and I've gone through the entire process of digital marketing. Where it's actually all of these platforms have made it so simple. If you think you need a professional video to upload a video on YouTube, not at all, right? We'll talk about the importance of that. At this point of time, I want you to pause and ask yourself that this is a skill each one of us can build. We are all digital marketers, and these platforms have made it so easy for you to actually launch an ad from your mobile phone at any time that you want. You can launch an ad, you can stop an ad, and you can retarget an ad. Everything is possible from your mobile phone. So the digital marketing agency is not the solution. I'm just going to come to that, because digital marketing agency and digital marketing are the house of it. If you got your who right, if you got your what right, and if you got, and the how is the easiest link to fulfill, right? Let me just, what that means is, what will you post in these platforms? It's content, and content was king, content is king, and content will be the king. What it means is that we all need to be content generators. When I say each one of us, if you really want to amplify in digital, it's all about content. I have met companies which have only 3-4 people do millions of dollars of business. It's not about having a lot of people, but those 3-4 people understand digital medium really well, and they are in a position to create content, right? We'll talk about content creation in a bit right now. So I'll just pause here. If you are seeing something fruitful, are you learning anything so far? Can you just type yes if you're learning something? While you're doing that, I'm going to have a sip of my coffee. Thank you very much. Wonderful. And that gives me motivation to take this forward. Awesome, guys. Now, how do you get unfair advantage in content? Now, this is a tip that you will take home today, where how do you get unfair advantage, right? Well, let's see what that is. Very simple. Videos, 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 period. So I'm going to ask a question, and please type on the chat. How many of you have posted a video of yourself in the last 30 days? You talking, yourself, personal video. Now see, so far we have been talking about, I've been asking a lot of questions about others. The moment I asked about video, it is zero. Now, of course, there are people, right? There are people here who say yes. And if you just count it, it's going to be under 5% or 10% or whatever, right? What that means is, guys, you can win in digital by just playing this card. If 99% of people don't do videos, when you do videos, what happens? You're in the top 1%. Isn't it so? Now, the question here is, where is the trick here? We are all afraid of, and there are some common notions about videos which are completely a myth. Let me show you that. You all came to this session seeing this video, yes or not? Many of you have seen this video and came to this. And this video is done using a simple mobile phone, right? I'm not great looking. I'm not great in my English. I'm not great in many things. But the point here is, do you have something valuable for the audience? Very, very important. Are you adding any value to the audience? If you're adding any value to the audience, and if we can convey in simple words, and each one of our audience can be very different. We don't need to be a celebrity for audience to see us. Each one of us have a target audience. As long as you appeal to that, we don't need to appeal to millions of people. As long as we appeal to a set of audience, you have your video going. So here is a request for all of you, as soon as this session is over, right? And I really don't mind, exactly, and somebody talking about, I really don't mind, coaching any one of you to do your first video. Do not shy off the camera. Just talk. It will be scrappy to start with, but as you do it more and more, right, you will feel very, very comfortable. But what I'm telling you is, if you don't do this medium, right, I'll give you a statistic to prove this. We ran 2 campaigns. We ran a campaign for this webinar through a video route, and we did another one through an image route. There we had a graphic design. We had to have a graphic designer. She made a nice graphic and color and everything. Now I can tell you, this video campaign performed 10 times better, 10x. What it took? 15, 20 minutes or 30 minutes of my time. But is it reusable? Absolutely reusable. So we can multiply this content. Now this video can be converted into a transcript. Today tools are available to transcript. Now this video can be converted into a blog. This video can be converted into quotations. Now you can create a content formula which multiplies from a small single video. Now whether who should talk, etc., I leave it to you. But the question here is, I think we just need to get out of the fear of videos. And video will give you phenomenal unfair advantage in the digital media. Yeah, I expected that question, Vivek. I just want to share with you, how many of you got inspired by an unknown name through a video in social media, clicked it, engaged with that? Is it because somebody was a celebrity? Somebody was well known in the industry? How many of you got inspired by an unknown person's Instagram? Right? Can you just see this? You don't need to be famous. That's a magic. Just because Ganesh is known in the industry is not because you came here. I can tell you this. If I spoke crap, right, you will not be here. None of us give value to a person's entitlement anymore. I'm telling you, you will leave this session in no time if I haven't made some sense to you. You are here because your time is so valuable. Very, very important. Do not underestimate the power of yourself, the power of your brand, the power of your proposition. We don't communicate, and we don't communicate because we think we are not good enough. Each one of us awesome. We are great. We are not communicating this in a way that we can win in this medium. I'm not saying video will do it all, but it's a component in the content strategy. I just want to place that on record, and it is proved, and we have enough data to substantiate that. Will you believe our cost per click is few paisa in Facebook, right? Cost per click is minuscule, right? And cost per click is runs in rupees for many of the ads that people do. The point here is that each one of us can be great at digital medium, and this is the time to build this skill. Let's assume that this is the only way that we build our career. And I would recommend that don't run after, you might have somebody to help you, but I think this is something that easily you can learn. And there is enough out there. Once you practice, you will see.
Do you agree?
One second, I'll just move on. Now let's move into now steps of internet marketing. Let's make it simple. How do you acquire customers, right? First step is you need to build a list of prospects, which means that without building a list of people, you're not going to be building customers. You need to then monetize them with a compelling proposition or offer. So you need to be facing them, do it in a small scale, it's almost like posting something and testing. For example, I posted this video, nobody came for this webinar. What it could be, maybe this is not the problem that somebody wanted to solve. So I need to rethink, reinvent. As a company, we need to reinvent, redo that content, post it. And this is a medium of experimentation. So this is something that I want to place on record for all of you. I'm also from this industry for a long time. We do take batch decisions. We say this season decision is over. Let's go back to next season. In digital, it's all about experimentation. I think there should not be any fear of failure. Continue to do experiment and see what works and keep on moving. And that moves at a speed much faster than how you would have moved in our decision making on product or distribution otherwise, right? And once you monetize, I call that as a small fire. So what you did is you put some raw material, you put some fire, and do some 5-6 experiments, and something that works, and that's where you put the money and say, now I have something working for me. I want to now put more gasoline and build traffic through ads, right? So do this organic first, test across 3-4 posts, and pick the one which is connecting with the target audience and put gasoline and run through. Now, a lot of people chase followers. My brand has only 1,000 followers. That brand has 1,000,000 followers and all that. Nobody ever got to 1,000,000 from one. Everybody gone through the same path. They all had at some point of time 1 follower, 100 follower, 1,000 follower, 10,000 and million. Now, I want to reveal a secret today. The secret is do not chase followers. Followers is a myth. Now, you might ask why, right? Let me just explain to you that quickly. See this, what's happening? Followers do not matter. When I say that, of course, with a pinch of salt, I'm not saying that people should not follow our brand. Let that come organic. Do not go helter-skelter to hunt for followers, right? Now, if you need to really reach people, now, first of all these platforms are all money-making platforms. Say Facebook, if you put a post, just check your own personal Facebook. How many people who are following you will get to see? Typically, it is around 5 to 6%. And that's declining over time. For all these platforms want to improve their revenues. Now, if they want to improve their revenues, they are reducing their organic reach by design. Now, if your company, if your product, if your campaign need to be visible, you just need to ensure that you need to simply do ad. Now, before you do that, test it organically and do this. So don't chase followers, let the followers come organically, because when you do ads, and when people like something, they start following, because the moment they start following, they will get feed automatically. Let that come organically. Create a cult of people following you rather than forcing followership. A lot of people, a lot of time, we have done this mistake at some point of time, and we have seen this others doing this mistake. Suddenly people say, I have 100,000 followers. Now, how much of them really matter? Maybe just 1,000. But the point is, you put a lot of money, all your message is going to the wrong place, right? And why not you build something organic and healthy? So now that you've created a content, let's look at how do you multiply this content. But a lot of people will say that I need to keep on making a lot of content every time I want to post in social media or post anywhere, right? So I'll give you some simple tips of, how you can multiply your content. One is, we talked about videos. Of course, videos is not the only thing, but of course, overcome the fear of camera, continue to practice, then shoot the video. You will find your voice, right? And the video can be one of your employees, right? And today what is happening is interesting, right? We're all going behind nice looking people. There's a company which is now working on what is called everything real and everything transparent, right? And I forget the name of the brand. It's a fashion brand. Everything is real. The people photographed, the model shoots are all from real world people, right? And there is a lot of weightage in the coming times for real and transparent brands, right? So now model is one area that you can be transparent. Costing is another area that you can be transparent. Some of you might have heard about this brand called Everlane, which does transparent business where they share with the consumers what's the cost of their product, what's the price, and what's the money they're making, right? For transparency will be valued in the time to come, where you will find your voice. Once you have these video, you can repurpose the content into long post, short post, code cards, and blog post, all of that, right? So it serves all the purposes from one single, and many a times these properties and assets can be reused by and repurposed across various platforms. So of course, when you do that, just ensure that you are very, very relevant to the context of the platform. You can't cut and paste what's in maybe LinkedIn, maybe it's an extreme case, and put the same thing in Facebook or Instagram. Might not work, right? Now, some of you might have heard about this, uh, which is retargeting. Imagine you put a post, right? Some of you come and see the video. Many people actually skip the video. Some of them have seen only few seconds of the video. Facebook has a wonderful feature where actually retargeting is money. People who don't see you first time, you should never assume that they are not with you, because it can be for any reason. It has been proven that unless you give 6 to 7 exposures, people will not pay attention. It takes 6 to 7 exposures for people to connect with you, right? So you can actually do retargeting where you can say this video, now I want to target people who has viewed 50% of my video, which means they have shown good intent and interest. Then you can target them and send another message. For how you ensure that you keep your pipeline of your prospects, right, in a way that they are nurtured to be converted into your customer. So this is not something normally done very well. So that's why I just want to iterate that retargeting is key for you. We all say that if I have a lot of followers, if I have a lot of audience, that's money. Actually, that's a misconception. The real money is, let me reveal that secret, and we all know it. It's true for decades, right? Sometimes it can actually hit us. It's not audience the money, it's relationships that's money. What has never changed over decades. And a lot of businessmen and leaders, entrepreneurs on this call, I really ask you this. Have you ever given money for audience, or you given money in return of relationships? If you agree with this, can you say yes? Great. So it's not about just having a fan. It's like not having an audience. It's about having a fan. Now to create the fan is a lot of work now, which is content. So how do you use your content in the digital? Therefore, I come back to content. Content is key. A lot of these strategic stuffs, many a times you'll say, I need 3 graphics per week. Please get this developed through this designer freelancer. Good thing, but are you paying all the attention in the process? Or you're just doing monotonously, okay, we are now doing 4 posts per day, somebody is doing 10 posts per day. You may do 1 post per day, the world loves it, right? Now the question here is, how do you focus on content and pay all that attention, right? When you're building a physical store, how much of attention are you paying? We'll go and check whether scratch is there, here, there. No. Are we paying all of that attention? Because in the digital medium, it's about content that sells. A product is also content. It's a picture. And your descriptions are also content that which you're going to put. So it's your product, descriptions, pricing, promotion, everything is content which you're selling. Yeah, I think there is a question on how do you, we will address that in a bit. Now, how does this whole thing work? You create an organic content, right? It can be video, text, image, whatever, and you multiply that content across different platforms, see the merit of it, convert them into paid ads, see the learning out of it, take the learning, which one is actually doing ROI for you. take that learning into new organic content and keep on rolling this. This is the flywheel. So I really want you to think about how do we create this flywheel, which will keep my digital medium rolling. Now let's get in. So far, we looked at about how do I acquire customers in digital and what are the various ways, maybe what are the smarter ways, right? And, let's look at now getting the product. Now we talked about the who, now we are getting into the what, right? How do we get your merchandise right? Typically the fashion cycle is, let me study a seasonal forecast, let's see all the reports, let me travel, come back and do it. I think one context I want to give you is that in digital medium, it's all about real-time relevance. I just want you to pay attention to this. It's not relevance. Now, relevance with a prefix, real-time relevance. Now, if I'm not real-time relevant in the context of my search, in the context of whatever I'm doing, I'm going to skip you. Now, theoretically speaking, to win in digital, imagine I can make a merchandise which can actually come at the point of intent, like a music, right? Where I can come based on your taste, right? But because we can't do that, I really wanted to extend that, saying that the quicker, more nimble and agile you are to the real-time demand of customers, the better you will win in digital. What that means is the old ways of traditional merchandising needs to be relooked at, right? So let me just look at, show you. Many of you, this is based on, you may not be doing this, just a point of view. Are you just using digital for liquidation? If this is your approach, this is a very good time for you to pause. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. You are actually creating a huge impact on your brand. Imagine if this is the primary channel your consumer is using it, they see you all the time on discount and broken sizes, it's looking like a factory outlet. Imagine what happens. Because we think that this is a silent stuff I'm doing, it's only, liquidating is all about, it's actually end of season sale, clearance, if that's clear for you, Nandini. Now, if this is the approach, then you are spoiling your brand proposition in the eyes of customers. And more, that's happening because we have a notion that this is an also channel, right? This is a channel like clear what doesn't sell otherwise, right? The future is where this is something that which may be your primary channel, right? And we are running maybe a bit late, and I hope, do you guys want some more time? If it's okay, if you can extend for 15-20 minutes, is that okay with you? Okay, great. Thanks everyone, and sorry for overshooting. Sometimes we get very attached to the subject, and the way you guys are responding, it's awesome. Give what the consumers are looking for. I think it's important. Therefore, digitally, if you think that this is a channel that I need to cater to these needs, then we need to be giving what the consumers are looking for. The question you will have now is, how do I know what consumers are looking for in this channel, right? So that's a question that we will answer very quickly. How do you know what consumers are looking for? And this you can't access through the traditional way of talking to trade partners, because this is so much of data, nobody can share so much details with you. So we'll see how you can solve that problem. For the question I want to leave you with is this. Imagine tomorrow your existing business is zero. And this is the only channel that you will have to run your business. How would you approach? So you will start asking some fundamental question. Somebody came and told you that build a business, this is the channel, you have to acquire customers, and these are the marketplaces you have to run your business with. How do you run this channel? So if you start thinking like this, you will see this space in a completely fresh perspective, not from the perspective that we are seeing today. And let me just show you, how do you spot right trend, right? Now, this is coming, what you're seeing on the screen is out of a Stylumia solution. We track every single product on online, both in India and abroad. If you have answers, we have answers to this question in 2-3 clicks, which is what are the winning trends in my favorite brands, favorite retailers, you get in just 3 clicks. So you get not just trends, you get winning trends. So whether it is spotting the right trend, you'll also get to see what not to do. So I'm great in this particular category, and it's category agnostic, right? Maybe you're making bags or shoes or swimwear or lingerie or women's wear or menswear, doesn't matter, right? You will also get to know instantly what not to do. Now, you really need real-time trend forecasting. Therefore, digital medium is all about this prefix. Always remember real-time prefix. If I want real-time customer acquisition, yes. You want real-time trend forecasting, yes. You want real-time everything, right? And you also get real-time trend attributes, or what are the right attributes across various spaces, and what are the compositions should I be using this print, that attribute, etc. Yeah, if there are any questions, I would suggest maybe if you can put it in the Q&A section, we'll quickly address that. I might not be watching all the chat all the time. Sorry for that. And right pricing. Therefore, I'm getting into a market. How do I manage my pricing? Which are the prices where maximum demand is there? What are the discounts? Am I sweet priced? Am I away from the market, in line with the market? And that's also dynamic. Therefore, you get right pricing. You also get pricing heat maps and say which price points that I'm seeing hot demand, which are the areas which are cold. So that you're also getting, one of the promise I had in the early part of the session was that we'll tell you getting the right merchandise, getting the pricing, getting the promotion, and we talk about the customers also. This is super critical. This is information which is normally not available, which is to say, tell me a place to enter which is profitable business. Now look at the x-axis and the y-axis here. The y-axis here is product demand, which means market has good demand digitally. And the x-axis is how popular, mass or niche it is. If it is mass and high demand, which means it's going to be a bloodbath. A lot of people are already there. Unless you are differentiated, you will have a problem there. But you can, of course, there is good demand, you can play that game. But imagine you get this idea that demand is very good, very few people are doing it, and it's aligned to your strengths, right? Now, in our platform, you will get to see these opportunities on a real-time basis. So you will know exactly where can I make maximum money? Where will I play that I will bleed money, right? Now, when people say that I'm losing a lot of money online, people call me, can you give one more 10% off? And we are running a promotion. But if you're doing transacting all the time without intelligence, that you are actually giving away and sweating all the money that you have earned so far. So I really want you to say that, a lot of intelligence you can bring into the merchandising area, which is the what problem. Now let's come to this let's look at two channels, right? There are two types of businesses you might do. Somebody will say, I want to build business from my own website. I also want to build business from other website, which is third-party marketplaces. I'll address both of them very quickly. One is role of your website. Now your website, in our view, is your trust card. Digitally, the only place that, see in offline, what is the equivalent of that? Is your high street EBOs, or your presence in a very respected departmental store or a family store. Now, digitally, you just need to be having a great presence of your brand. Therefore, do I need to have a website? Yes, you must have. Because customers, whenever they doubt anything, right? And the trust factor online is low, whatever said and done. But when they see a label or a name which is not common, they'll go and search and check. One of our customers is on the call. Femilla, for example, is a brand. It's an upcoming brand, fast growing brand. They'll go and type femilla.in, and if Femilla comes up on as a website and it's a genuine brand, I see it's nicely done, a lot of products, etc., you might even convert a customer into the website. Therefore, website, your trust card. But many people build a website in a way that it's an IT function, right? I outsource an engineer, just build a website for me. Would you do that for your store? Would you do that for your store without understanding what goes in? Now, this is something that I'm showing you, right? Of course, I just picked up one brand. The health of your website is super important for Google, because if your website is not respected by Google, you're not going to come up on search of your relevant categories. So Google measures your website on 4 areas. Performance of your website, which means how fast your website is loading. Second, accessibility. And today accessibility is somebody's eyesight is not good, okay? Somebody can't hear well. All of that, how do you make your website relevant for them? And also best practices and SEO. SEO is search engine optimization. We won't be spending a lot of time there, but how easy for Google to discover your website on target keywords. That's SEO in a simple term. But you see this is a well-known brand. There's nothing against the brand, and you do this for any brand, you will get this. Very low performance of the website, right? And orange score across all of this. And I just want to show you what's possible just by demonstrating our own website, Stylumia scores. And you all can do this publicly on this URL at the bottom called web.db. Web.db, you type, you want to test any website, put their URL and check their scores. And that is how Google will respect. And if both of you are doing the same product category, two brands, a brand which scores a very high relevance here, exactly. A very high relevance, well, thanks, Emma. Very high relevance will get better search results compared to the other one, which means you will not put your unnecessary marketing money behind making yourselves inorganically searchable. Let me show you Stylumia score. Just see this, right? This will be one of the top, I would say, top 0.5 or 1 percentile of the world's websites. You can just see the score on performance, accessibility, best practices, SEO, right? Now, this is a public, you can check for yourself. And if you are already having a website, just check the health of it. If you see red, orange, etc., definitely a scope, because then maybe you have a nice looking website, nobody can discover. It's like having a very good product at the back end of your store, right? Very important, build a website, not from a perspective, but I think all of this I'm sharing with you because many a times the website developers don't tell you all this, right? It's very important for you to develop a website so that tomorrow the engine is so powerful, discoverable globally and easily. Now, the second question is, how do you win with third-party marketplaces, right? Now, all the fundamentals are same. We have talked about the who, what, and the how. Exactly, the how is changing here. Every third-party marketplace, whether you sell on Amazon, whether you sell on Zalando, whether you sell on ASOS or Zalora or Myntra or Flipkart, wherever you're coming from, anywhere in the world, they only look at two things. Having worked in this industry, having run a very large online retailer, I can tell you, we only look for relevance and performance, right? Now, what do you mean by that? For a customer, if your products in the category they're interested, you are very relevant. Now, I'll go into details of what is relevance. And if you are doing good performance based on the past track record, how good is your sales been, then you are given very high weightage. Now, how do you ensure that? Again, I want you to add a prefix called real-time relevance and real-time performance. If you don't do well in the last few weeks, your future is bleak. Now, that's why digital is a flying wheel. Now, you need to manage this business in a way that the flywheel is all the time rolling, right? So you need to ensure if the momentum is low, future is low because it looks into your recent performance. So you need to be on the ball and manage this in a way that you always get a good score. Now, what are the factors these retailers consider while ranking your product? Many of you tell me, I put everything and people are not picking up my calls, are not coming on the top. It's all science, right? And I'm not saying that there is no strategy and relationship involved. And if you are important to the retailer, there could be some impact, but mostly I would like you to assume that it's all about science. If you win with the consumer and win with the retailer, you have a high probability of winning in getting visibility. So how do you get more visibility? Everybody asks me a lot of time and asks us, and here you look at all of these factors, right? Whether whether it is conversion, organic sales, past sales, how good is your text, how good is your images, all of that gets into the ranking algorithm. Given 1,000 products, each product is looked at in all of these variables and given a score. And based on this, an index is created every day, in many a times, maybe multiple times in a day to show, right? There could also be customization depending on the customer taste. I'm not talking about the personalization angle, but largely. Now, how do you ensure that you get, for when you create product descriptions, when you create those photographs, all of that are responsible for you to get visibility, right? Apart from the performance. And that comes because you got the right niche and you are very clear who are you targeting as a customer. So you got your pricing right, you got your promotion right, and then you got your image right, you got your text right. Putting it all together finally makes your product run well. You might be having a great product, but not doing other things right, and you might be losing. That doesn't mean you don't have a great proposition, but it's very important for us to check all the boxes before we conclude that you don't have a right proposition. Yeah, I'm coming towards the end. Therefore, what next, right? Just to take a recap of what we have learned so far, we looked at having, first of all, learn from all the debacles of case studies that in front of us. What does it take to win in digital? How do you have a big idea? And what are the three elements we talked about? Who, what, and how? Who we address, the target consumer. We looked at acquiring that consumer, nature of various digital media, and what wins in digital media, what can give you unfair advantage. Then we looked at how do you build a great merchandise proposition. And the last one is how do I win through my own website, the role of each one of them. And of course, this is a short webinar. Therefore, I try to cover a bit of breadth today. And I'm sure in the future, we will come out maybe with deeper sessions on maybe covering each one of them in detail. But I hope you got all of this. But at this point of time, I really want you to look at this. There is so much information is not valuable today. Information will not get you anywhere because we are attending so many webinars and there's so much on Google, right? You type on anything, there is some result. If information itself will help us succeed, then I don't think we will have disparity of performance. What is the difference, whether information or something else? So I would leave you with this, right? How would you accomplish your goal? There are two approaches. I've shown you a ladder of how you can go, and there is another ladder which will help you actually climb much faster, right? Now, information leaves you with execution gap because you might lack some insight at various steps of the execution, right? If you need insights which are relevant, which already learned over years of spending and maybe burning millions of dollars and learning through that, then you can help you climb faster. And that's the role that somebody like us can play. Of course, you can do it yourself. In fact, if any of you are interested in any partly, there are solutions that we have which will help you solve the merchandise puzzle. Then you can take that and do it yourself and get that right. If you think all the others in order, if any of you think that you would need some guidance, right? And I would like you to give a very quick construct on that. The construct is, I call this success triangle. The success triangle is you can win in anything in life if you had these three things happening. Just remember, one is the coach or a mentor. Second is processes, right processes. And third is right environment. Imagine if only YouTube videos are good enough to be fit, all of us will be fit. Every one of us will be healthy and fit. But the point is very few really do it, is the gap between information and execution, right? For those who have a coach, right? The coach can be digital, the coach can be physical. The second is the right processes. What are the 5 steps to be fit? What do I do in the morning? What do I do in the evening, etc.? What food should I take? And the last one is right environment. I keep saying we are as good as the 5 people around us. We are an average of 5 people around us. So are you with people who understands this digital channel, right? Very well, right? So that you don't make the mistakes others would make. Is it not that you won't do it yourself? Yes, you will succeed. Maybe you'll take a longer time. The question here is, and there is a misnomer about time. Time is, people say time is money. Actually, that's a misnomer, because time once lost, you can never get back. But money you can always get back. For time and timing are super critical. You should not delay, irrespective of whichever approach you take. I think whatever inputs that we have shared, I think you should get into execution. Now, what is Stylumia can do for you in case you wish to look for some support from our end? We have launched something called Stylumia Excel, which is an assisted service of helping brands and retailers not only go online if you're not there. Second, if you're already there, how do we amplify your business? And quickly, what do we do in that program? Stylumia Excel will support you in all of these areas, helping you in the strategy, which is the who, what angle to it, getting your merchandise recommendations right, evaluate your current vis-a-vis the consumers in that space, help you choosing the right partners. In case you need to be listed, we'll do that. And strategic connect with these partners. Some of you might not have listening bandwidth from those companies. That's welcome. Of course, pricing, performance, all the areas that we've talked about, whether it is performance marketing support and all of that, right? Now, this is, I call it doing with you. So we have 2 options, do it yourself or doing with you, right? We have both options open in case you are interested. And we do this through an application process, right? And we just want to be doubly sure that there is a fit between your goals and what Stylumia can do for you. And we will, I'm asking my colleague Hema to post the Google form, and it's in the chat form there. If you can take that form, those who are interested, please apply. And we are already within 2 weeks, our cohort 1 is done. Now we are starting cohort 2 in case you are interested, and we'll close that in the next 7 days. So if you are thinking about even having a conversation with us, fill that form. We will have an interview with you. We'll assess your relevance, and we will confirm back if we can go ahead and partner with you. Right. I'll quickly go ahead with the questions which are here. Yeah, 1 second. There are 7 questions here. How to decide MRP of a fashion product selling online? This is from Siddharth. Great question, Siddharth. A lot of people ask, does discount work, right? And discount does work. Now, if depending on what kind of brand you're building a business where you would like to preserve the MRP and you don't want to play with the discount, there is a role for that also. And if you want to do a high-low game where you say, I will notionally price my product and give a discount. And today, customer is very smart. They look at exactly what price are they paying for their product, right? So that's to answer that question. What is the team size to get this going, right? In fact, if in my view, that if you got your product right, you just need maybe 1 or 2 people. You can get this channel going. There is so much of ecosystem support available. You don't need a battalion of people, right? And I'm assuming that some infrastructure in terms of warehousing, etc., will be already with you. In that case, otherwise, maybe 1 or 2 people there, and that's a good start. Why is it that ads on Facebook and Insta gets tons of likes but no sales? Now, conversion is a function of relevance, right? And it's nothing to do with the platform. It's to do with what we are doing. As I told you, that all of conversions in digital is a function of real-time relevance. So I would like you to look at, maybe the target audience setting is wrong. Maybe we are reaching people who are not relevant to this, right? And that could be one. Maybe we are blasting in the wrong place. Second, maybe even if the right place, then maybe the content is not right. Maybe the offer is not compelling enough. It could be a combination of all of this. And how do you build relationship with the audience, right? And yeah, great question. And this is not something that you look at over one transaction. Relationships, as we know, in the real world happens over interactions, multiple interactions over time. So this is about being consistent with all the time thinking about, how do I help my consumer? How do I help my consumer? The moment you're helping a consumer, you're building a relationship. Today, you will build a relationship with us, with me, with Stylumia, if we start adding value. And maybe multiple times we add value. You may be skeptical today, but maybe over a period of time, you might start to become a loyal fan for us. And that may be a small fraction of percentage. And that's why we need to continue to work. And what's the average acquisition cost per customer in fashion industry? It can be very different across different businesses. If you have very high loyalty and high compelling value, it can be low, but it can range anywhere between 100 to 1,000 rupees. And depending on the conversion that you have, but that's a large band. What's a list price and selling price? Yes, list price is basically the MRP. Internationally, it's called list price, and selling price is post discount, the average selling price to the customer. For doing online digital marketing course, which is the best university or any online certification course, right? The best way to practice this is actually, in my view, just go and read the blogs from the platform themselves, right? If you go to Facebook ad platform is there, Instagram ad platform is there, LinkedIn ad platform is there. The platform themselves are sharing a lot of information. First of all, they'll be original. And I can tell you, I've done personally, it's not complicated. You just need to spare some time. Before doing advertising, I think it's about content, right? I think work on content, advertising is just few clicks. For a startup brand, how much of an inventory should one start with, assuming there is no other sales channel? Yeah, if you want to start with in any digital channel, and I'm just giving a broad brush, Vivek, answer to that question is, you just need to find out what is the threshold assortment which is required for customer to consider you. I would like you to research first that what is the size of assortment that your category, your niche is already offering. Therefore, you need to be credible in that space, right? And accordingly, it can be few tens of pieces you can start, right? And there are a lot of handicrafts people selling online with 1 piece, 2 piece, etc. So I don't think that matters. For high level guidance, low depth, high width to start with, so that you can keep learning. And sorry for many of these questions, I've not mentioned the name of the questioner. Sorry for that. I will do that from now on. Nandini's question: what are the charges toward the cohort charges you talked about? Yeah. Nandini, what I suggest is if you can just apply in that form as a part of the interview, we will share, the commercial approach also for the Excel cohort. For a startup brand, this is again from Vivek. In a particular category, how many designs should a category have to start with? Now, this is again, I've just answered that before. You need to study the market, see the threshold width. You don't want to be invisible in the niche that you are selecting. For example, one can keep a target saying that I want to be at least 5% of the options in that market, or 5% of the niche, or 10%, so that you expect to get at least that share of business, right? Atul's question: I've asked few people in the online marketplace for premium ethnic wear. The biggest hurdle they have is used returns, other inferior product returns, right? Now, product return is common in online, and percentages can change. It can be anywhere between 15 to 35%. Typically, bottom wear, anything which is fit sensitive, have high return. But there are a lot of solutions available today for you to minimize that. I think that should not deter you from trying. If that was the case, we would have never started fashion online, because initially people are returning a lot. And over a period of time, we made the processes so simple that you can exchange it, right? And 30-day free return, etc. So things have changed over time. And I would suggest that go beyond all these concerns. As long as there is traction, people are buying, it will settle soon, right? But you'll still have this range of returns, which I told you. Nandini's last question: with our limited experience, we've started noticing WhatsApp as a great channel because we get into personal contact, which further helps to reach via status updates, easy for customer to reach us too. Any insight, or can you share your perspective on targeting via WhatsApp? Right. Now, WhatsApp is just one of the channel, which is a messaging channel, which is an instant channel. Now, the story has to inform the medium. For how scalable is WhatsApp for you from an engagement perspective? WhatsApp, I think, is a lot more transactional, right? Because you normally miss a message which is on the top, etc. So the question is that, can you engage in this channel very well? So I really don't know the category that you operate with. I would suggest that this is one of the channels. It is transactional. It's convenient, particularly for people who are old, etc. But I would suggest that you be in the social channels for sure, and experiment platforms like Facebook, Instagram, depending on the relevance for your medium. Great. Thanks everyone for your wonderful listening. Really enjoyed. And one final feedback from all of you: did you find the last 1.5 hours useful for you? And would you like to learn more about the digital channel in the future? Just say yes if you feel so. Awesome, guys. Phenomenal audience. Look forward to seeing you once again. Have a wonderful weekend, and stay safe. Thanks, Hema and Ashish, for coordinating at the back end.